everyone, this is Amy Samoye coming to you on behalf of discoveryourcourage.com. How you guys doing? I hope you're well and happy Valentine's Day. I hope you had a wonderful Valentine's Day. I did, or I am recording this, having lots of fun. And I hope all your expectations for the day were met. If you're happy, I'm happy, okay? So I am going to talk about letting go in this broadcast, and I hope by the end of this broadcast I'll be able to help you identify your painful feelings, and I hope by the end of this conversation I'll also help you identify ways in which you can, productive ways in which you can give your pain a voice. And I hope at the end of this conversation you'll also be able to understand that resentment is not your friend. Okay? So let's get going. So what is the nature of resentment? How does resentment look like? What character does it have? Resentment really does not, or is not confined to one behavior. It has a chain effect. So you can resent one thing only. You're resenting one leading to another, A, B, C, D, going. It has a chain effect, you get it. So perhaps you're resentful because of the following examples that I will gather. So number one, perhaps you're resentful, or you know someone who is resentful because one, there was pain caused by emotional attachment. So emotional attachment that ended in the manner that you didn't expect, or it ended not in your terms, or the circumstances of the end of that relationship that had an emotional attachment were not in your favor, and perhaps you're very resentful of that. So, and people resent, number two, because of ideas and unmet expectations. So perhaps you had an idea about a relationship, and then down the road the idea did not come to fruition, or the person that you're in the relationship with did not meet your expectations. So perhaps it ended up being kind of like a one-way relationship. So you are giving too much and the person was doing very little, or the person was withholding something from you that you believe, or that you still believe that it was rightfully yours. So you're resentful, and rightfully so, because you gave and you hope to get something in return, or you had an idea that this is what this relationship was going to look like, and it has ended and you're resentful about it. Number three, you could be resentful because of a failure. It could be a failure of a friendship, it could be a failure of a marriage, whatever failure that you're going through, that most of us go through, and you're resentful of the circumstances that surrounded that failure. Perhaps, for instance, maybe you had a friend who you confided in, and the friend ended up telling you secrets. Your friend is not supposed to tell you secrets, and they went out there and told people about your secrets, and now you're ashamed, or perhaps you are embarrassed in the community, or perhaps you had a close friend who talked about you and told lies about you, and now people believe that friend of yours because once they were very close to you, so they feel like they are, it feels like they're telling the truth, because people know, okay, she was an insider or he was an insider. Those kind of situations. Whatever situation that you're going through, or whatever journey you've taken that has gotten you where you are today to be resentful, I hope by the end of this conversation I'll be able to help you lessen the pain by giving you maybe a few tips. You can learn one thing. You don't have to take everything, you don't have to agree with everything that I say, but I hope you'll find at least one thing that works for you. Okay? So, how does resentment look like? I'll give you an example. Like I mentioned, it's not confined to one behavior. I'll give you an example. Many, many years ago, when I had first come to the United States, I traveled to go to Atlanta. And back then, I lived up north. So, this was my first time being down south. So my friends and I decided to go to dinner that evening, and we were in this building waiting for the elevator. So while waiting for the elevator, the room had a TV on the wall. So there were these two women also waiting for the elevator, and on the TV they started broadcasting the president at that time with his wife. And one of the women looked at a friend, and with so much emotional intensity and disgust, she said something like, "Look at them. They think they're so special." You know, and at that moment, I just knew this had nothing to do with what was on the TV, had nothing to do with that particular person or particular couple. So that's how resentment looks like. It expresses in ways that a chain effect. You begin resenting traffic, you begin resenting people's ideas, you have very little tolerance on the way people dress, the way people drive, the way people talk, people's thoughts. It just triggers a chain of events. So that's how resentment looks like. So why do we feel the need to carry resentment, even though we've had so many sermons in church, or perhaps you've read books about resentment? The Lord's Prayer talks about, forgive us our sins as we forgive those sins who sin against us. It's kind of like we forgive because Christ has forgiven us. We've had many people say that unforgiveness or resentment is like drinking poison, hoping that the other person is hurt or the other person dies. Perhaps we've had so many things that probably even doesn't make sense, or maybe we are not applying into our lives. So why do we keep holding on to resentment, even though we clearly know that it's not good for us? I think many of us hold on to resentment unknowingly and psychologically because it feels safe. It's kind of like a mask. It prevents us, or we tell ourselves psychologically and consciously that by keeping this, I am protecting myself from the next hurt, or I am keeping a barrier, especially if the person is still within the person who hurt us is still within our vicinity or our circle. So I think psychologically we think it's serving us, yet really it doesn't serve us. So I'd like for you to experience how do people, if you're resentful, how do other people view you? So I'll give you an experiment, or ask you to do an experiment. Perhaps you can do it now if you'd like, or maybe you can do it later, after this video, or when you get a chance. So when you get a chance and you're going through resentful feelings, I'd like for you to go in front of a mirror and gather the courage to feel what you felt when the initial pain was caused, whatever that pain was. Perhaps it was a feeling of disappointment. Perhaps it was a feeling of rage. Perhaps it was a feeling of anxiety. So gather the courage and look at yourself in the mirror. Perhaps it's just aching. It's like an emotional ache that you cannot stand. So I'd like for you to give yourself permission and a chance to go before a mirror and give that feeling a chance and look at yourself in the mirror. It might become an uncomfortable feeling because, it's ugly. Feelings are ugly. Some feelings are ugly, and we are talking about ugly feelings. And you might not be able to stand it. You might not be able to, to go through with it. But I'm giving you that challenge to go before a mirror and allow yourself to feel the rage, the disappointment, the pain, the anxiety. And perhaps you might cry. You might want to feel like, oh my God, I want to hug myself, or somebody give me a hug. So, what you see in that mirror is a reflection of what the world, what everybody else is seeing. No matter how much you mask it, no matter how much you hide it, that's the reflection of resentment. You carry it with you. Other people see it. They see through it. Okay? So the challenge here is, why should we let resentment go? We let resentment go not because we are trying to get back those relationships that hurt us. We are letting go because we want to be happy. We want to be free. The thing with resentment is it tells you how right you are. And rightfully so, because when you're pained, you know for sure you are right and the other person was wrong. But being right really does not free you. So you need to ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? I bet you want to be happy and right at the same time, right? I think we want both, but we can't bake our cake and eat it too. So we have to choose to be happy or to be right. And when you're choosing your freedom, or when you're choosing to be happy, you're really choosing to let go of that pain. You're choosing to let go of that hurt. You're choosing to free yourself, to give yourself a second chance to experience the now. You're choosing to authentically communicate your pain, and you're choosing to authentically look at the deeper you and free yourself so that you can graduate, So acknowledge feelings. The feelings that are not acknowledged, they do not go away somehow. We wish they would. And we don't deal with problems by ignoring them. We have to face it. If we have to look for solutions, or if we must look for solutions, then we must deal with the problem. And acknowledging the pain is the number one step, so that we can create, or we can clear the emotional debris that the pain has caused, so that we can get some clarity really and get an objective look at what really happened. Instead of being so reactive about it, we can be so objective about what happened. We can just give up the feeling of that feeling of feeling right, and invite productive ways to deal with problems. Because if you deal with problems in a more productive way, life is full of seasons. So today you're probably experiencing a season of betrayal, a season of anger, a season of a lot of letdowns. That's life seasons. Tomorrow you'll experience happiness. Tomorrow you'll experience harvest time. A lot of things will go good. And there is little we can do about our seasons in life, but we can prepare ourselves. So if you are going through resentment and you are afraid, or you are using avoidance not to face the problem, you're probably doing yourself a disservice by not experiencing the now. So if you keep asking yourself, why did this happen to me? Oh my God. Or if you keep telling stories about what happened to you, you keep calling your friends over dinner, calling everybody over Starbucks coffee so that I can tell you how this SOB did this, ABC. So you become the storyteller of a story that somebody created instead of taking over that story and recreating a new narrative, saying, hey, this happened to me, but this is what I'm gonna do about it. So ask yourself what and how instead of why. The more you ask why, the more you become a storyteller, the more you are going to experience pain. So the challenge here is to face the problem head on and allow yourself to grow emotional muscle. You know, since I talked about seasons, so if you're going through a low season today, seasons are not going to end. You're going to experience a different capacity of a problem in future. And if you learn productive ways to overcome a problem today or your resentment today, tomorrow if somebody betrays you or you go through almost a similar experience, you will have grown an emotional muscle and you'll have learned new skills and it will be easier. And perhaps you'll have more clarity on problems, on people. You'll have learned new skills even to prevent what happened to you so that it doesn't duplicate. So I'd like to talk about this more. Perhaps we can talk about it next time. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but thank you for taking the time to listen to me. If you know somebody that might find this helpful, or perhaps you can bookmark for a future reference. As I mentioned, we go through seasons. Please do share. And if you'd like to find me on discoveryourcourage.com, on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. May God bless you, and I wish you freedom, love, and happiness.